What is going on, Knicks Nation? We are live here on Knicks Media, joined by a special guest, Jake Asman, who was at the Garden last night, has been at every single home playoff game. Jake, always a pleasure to have you on, man. The Knicks are up 1-0 on the Pacers. Last night was a absolute thrilling game, and the Knicks get a must-win at home in game number 1 of round 2 of the Eastern Conference semifinals. Welcome to the show, Jake. Always a pleasure to have you on, my man.
Richie, normally we talk Jets, so the chance to chop it up and talk about a winning team, a team that's playing meaningful playoff games, it's awesome, man. And yeah, the Garden was crazy last night. Knicks found a way to get it done, got some, fortunate breaks go their way for once, which I will never apologize for after, the life I've had as a New York sports fan, and in particular, being a Knicks fan. So crazy game, but I mean, the Knicks got it done. And if you look at their history, as crazy as it is, the Knicks have never won a playoff series when they've lost the first game of the series at home. So, you think back to last year, they lost to Miami in the second round. They lost game 1 at home, and Jimmy Butler didn't play in that game. So maybe it has nothing to do with anything, but it means something to at least be up 1-0 going to game 2 tomorrow night.
And to top that off, Jacob, correct me if I'm wrong, aren't the Knicks 0 and something in games they lose their first game at home in a playoff series? I'm pretty sure I saw that stat.
Exactly. They've never been they've never won a series once again when they've lost that first game at home. So that's why last night maybe it was a lot bigger than people realize.
Yeah, and I always stress this, Jake, on my show. When you're a home playoff team and you have home court, game 1 is low-key one of the most important games of the entire series because it can immediately flip, and the home court will go into Indiana's favor, for example, if they won. Even in game number 2, right? When you have home court advantage, you have to win both games at home in order to maintain that home court advantage. Now, the good thing about this Knicks team that we saw round 1 and even throughout the regular season, Jake, is that they know how to win on the road. So if by any chance they do lose a game at the Garden, which they did in round 1 and game number 5 against Philly, I'm not too concerned of them being able to go on the road and get the job done in Indiana if that ever happens. But that's not the case here because the Knicks escape game 1 with a victory, and I'm really excited to break it down. And like you said, the calls, they didn't go, in the Pacers' favor. They went our favor. We can definitely admit that. I will also like to add some context that there was 2 moving screens called against the Knicks on Dante DiVincenzo in the fourth quarter that was not in our favor, but then the calls late in the game with 1 minute to go obviously went in our favor. So listen, calls went our way. When do calls ever go in Knicks fans' way? Okay, we've been watching this team, and I honestly feel like, Jake, when calls start going your way and just like you have this weird magical moments that we had in round 1, game 2 at the Garden against Philadelphia, all these magical moments, that's what it takes to like somehow go on a playoff run. And I'm not going to apologize for it. No Knicks fan should.
No, absolutely not. I mean, I saw some tweets last night from Nick haters. Oh, the NBA wants the Knicks to win. They want the Knicks to win. And I'm thinking to myself, well, if that's true, it's about time. Where have they been my entire life? Where's the NBA been when the Knicks have never won a lottery since they got Patrick Ewing in '85? Like, where have the NBA riggers been my entire life, Richie, if this is all true? So if the NBA now finally wants the Knicks to win, sign me up because we have paid our dues as Knicks fans.
That's what I'm saying. People are like pretending like the NBA has been on the Knicks side forever, bro. We've literally been on the other side of the stick forever as Knicks fans. So the fact that things are going in our way, we're not going to complain, okay? So let's get away from that and talk about what we saw last night because, Jake, we have a big 3, and the big 3 includes the Villanova boys. I mean, these 3 won a championship together in Villanova. We know that. But boy, oh boy, are they carrying this Knicks team to the promised land, in my opinion. You got to include, of course, the other pieces around those big 3, like OG Anunoby, Isaiah Hartenstein, Deuce McBride, and Mitchell Robinson. But these 3, it just feels like they know what it takes to win basketball games. They hit the clutch shots. Josh Hart is playing like a man possessed. Jalen Brunson is a superstar. Dante hitting another game-winning shot. What's your overall thoughts of the Knicks' big 3, the Nova boys in Jalen Brunson, Dante DiVincenzo, and Josh Hart?
Well, you look at all the other quote-unquote big 3s in the NBA, I mean, they're all out of the league. They've been eliminated, I should say. I mean, sometimes it's just truly about, the fit. And those 3 guys fit the coach. They fit the culture that's been established here. And the chemistry is so obvious. I mean, we've seen it play out. Forget just during, last night's game, but against the Sixers, how many times down the stretch did one of those guys make a big time play and feed off the energy of the other person's player? It really is unbelievable, man. I mean, when the Knicks signed Jalen Brunson, I think every Knicks fan thought, all right, well, we finally have a point guard, nice player. No one could have imagined this, but I think what's been so cool to watch is like Josh Hart was a nice player. He's taken his game to a different level since he started playing with Jalen Brunson and the Knicks. And then they go out and get Dante DiVincenzo this past offseason, and he was a nice player. He's never been this. So it's like the Nova Knicks were like all solid players on their own, and now playing under Thibodeau, playing for the Knicks, it has really taken them to like a different level as far as their level of performance.
And talk about Jalen Brunson, man. I mean, I'm really trying to make sure us Knicks fans don't start looking at what Jalen Brunson is doing and just make it feel like it's normal. But yeah, 43. I memean, what he's doing, Jake, is historic. He's the first player since Michael Jordan to put up back-to-back 40-point outings. And may I add, Jake, that the game before those 4 games, he dropped 39 points. Okay, so I feel like us Knicks fans, we've been waiting for the savior of this Knicks team, and he's here. And his name is Jalen freaking Brunson. And the fact that he went 14 for 14 from the line, I love how people are trying to make that into a negative in terms of the haters. Oh, he's a free throw merchant. The guy leads the NBA playoffs in scoring if you take free throws out. Okay, let's not start pushing a fake narrative that Jalen Brunson just gets his points from the free throw line. So what's your overall thoughts of Jalen Brunson and what he's been able to do to kind of carry this Knicks basketball team? Because he's proved in round 1 and he proved in game 1 in this series that he is the best player on the court every single time so far in the first 2 rounds.
You can't take it for granted. I mean, we've waited our whole life for a player this good, especially at that position that he plays. I mean, we watched like Ramon Sessions start at point guard, Tony Douglas start. We have dealt with the Knicks over and over again, try to find a point guard and just be unable to get that guy. And look, Jalen Brunson, to me, is the best player this franchise has had since Patrick Ewing. Like that's what he's doing right now. I mean, you gave the stat about Jordan, but it's like every night this guy is like going out there and like casually putting up 35 plus, 40 plus. It's just, it's unreal, man. It's out of control what he's been able to do. And I mean, don't take it for granted, Knicks fans, because, if you're a longtime Knicks fan, you waited a long time for a player this good.
Absolutely. Got to give a shout out to my man, Tag IQ for 3 on X, who always comes out with the best highlights. I mean, you're talking about a guy on Twitter who posts a clip of what happens in real time on Twitter within seconds. So this is his clip on Twitter of the Jalen Brunson masterpiece last night. And what he does, bro, that I love, Jake, is that I have so much confidence in Jalen Brunson. Like, I've never had this much confidence in an overall player. Usually, I'll look back at myself as a Knicks fan, and I would be an absolute nervous wreck and just be the most, like, negative person. Like, oh, here we go again. Like, we're going to lose. But for some reason, I'm so calm and collected because of Jalen Brunson. When he shoots the bucket like that from the free throw line, I know it's going in. Like, there's something about Jalen that makes me feel calm. Even when we go down 9 points in the beginning of the fourth quarter, I'm like, Jalen's got us. He's going to somehow figure out a spot and hit shots like this. So what do you think about Jalen Brunson being the guy to kind of calm our nerves as Knicks fans? Because I have so much confidence in him to win these basketball games in the clutch moments late in the fourth quarter.
Yeah, no question. I mean, he's at his best when it matters the most. I mean, he's as clutch as any athlete that's been in New York sports in a long time. I mean, his fourth quarter scoring last night, what do you have, 21 in the fourth quarter? Like, it's insane what he's been able to do, how often he's asked to have to be the guy too, because of the Randall injury, because of losing even a guy like, Bogdanovich, who was going to provide some scoring off the bench. I mean, this team is really him. Like he truly is, as I see Hennessy's in the comments calling him Brunson. That's really what he's been for this team. I mean, he's unbelievable, man. It shouldn't be, as easy as it looks when he's out there. And you even see it last night, Richie. They take him off the court to try and give him a rest for a couple minutes, and Indiana immediately, goes on a run. You got to call timeout, get Brunson back in the game. It's like he is truly the MVP of the Knicks, obviously, but he should be talked more about as a guy that's the MVP of the whole league. He won't win it, but man, he certainly deserves way more consideration, because if you watched every game like we Knicks fans do, you truly appreciate the greatness when you watch it every night.
Absolutely. And I feel like he is playing like the best player in the playoffs, definitely in the Eastern Conference. I mean, I don't want to show disrespect to what Anthony Edwards is doing over there
Oh
in
yeah.
Minnesota because he is absolutely on fire. We don't got to worry about the West right now. But at the end of the day, Jalen Brunson's playing like the best player in the Eastern Conference. He is leading the NBA in points in the playoffs. And I think that Knicks fans got to start getting used to what Jalen Brunson's bringing to the table. These numbers, we're going to look back on it and be like, yeah, these are just normal stuff. This is just what we're used to from Jalen Brunson at this point. So another player who has been stepping up his game more than we've ever imagined in the playoffs, Jake, it's freaking Josh Hart. What's your thoughts of what you've seen from Josh Hart this year in the NBA playoffs? Because he is a big reason why the Knicks are being able to do what they've done so far in the playoffs.
Is there a more fitting name for a player than Hart for Josh Hart? He truly is the heart and soul of the team. I mean, he plays every minute, literally played another 48 minutes last night. His conditioning is out of this world. He impacts the game in so many different ways, even when he's not scoring, which, by the way, he still did last night with 24 points. He obviously hit the critical dagger 3 to beat Philly the way he did in game number 6. You just look at what he has done since he's been a Knick. I mean, the Knicks record since he's been here is outstanding. It's one of the best in the league going back to last year. So, you know, Josh Hart is becoming a forever Knick. You know, I got to order the jersey after this stream, Richie. I mean, that's what he's meant to the city. That's what he's meant to this fan base. He does everything a winning player needs to do. Like, you can't be a championship team without having some of your role players be Josh Hart. And like, Josh Hart is a star in his role. Like, he's a superstar role player. And I don't say role player to like demean him or diminish him. It's just like his value just impacts winning. He's an unbelievable player. You know, I never thought another Knick wearing number 3 would, you know, be able to win over the fan base after what John Starks did. But
yeah,
man,
100%.
Josh Hart he's doing it.
He just makes winning basketball plays. Like, he's not the guy that you're looking to go get you a bucket, even though he's proven that he can do that now. He's that scrappy warrior that just sacrifices everything, and he just embodies what it means to be a New York Knick, which is why I think Knicks fans are falling in love with Josh Hart. And the fact that this guy's playing 48 minutes, like you said, and he's not showing any signs of fatigue. They asked him in the locker room, Josh, are you tired? Nah, my wife gets me tired, but I'm good. I'm good. And I love how Josh also says that Thibodeau gives him the range because people are criticizing Coach Tibbs for playing him and all these players all these minutes, where the reality is Tibbs gives Josh Hart the freedom to tell him when he wants a rest. And guess what, Jake? Josh Hart's never went up to Tibbs and said, yeah, I need a minute. Like, right. Josh is ready to play all game.
Doesn't need it. It's incredible, dude. I mean, it's just what he's doing night in, night out, like to still be at best after playing, 45 minutes at the end of these games. It's phenomenal, man. And I mean, just appreciate the effort from this Knicks team. Like, they play basketball the right way. It's very throwback, like with the defense and the teamwork and the workman-like approach. It's truly just a fun, lovable team to root for. And oh man, have Knicks fans waited so long for a team like this.
We've waited a long, long time, and nobody deserves this more than Knicks fans. Now, another player that we have to break down is Donte DiVincenzo. He had a phenomenal game yet again. He kind of came alive, right? You can say that he was the one guy that was missing in the first round outside of his game-winning shot in game number 2. He really has not played the level that we are expecting him that he showed in the regular season. But in game 6 against Philadelphia, he started off the first quarter scorching hot, was a big reason why they were able to close it down in Philadelphia. Last night, he hit 5 threes, including the game-winning shot. What's your thoughts of what you've seen from Donte DiVincenzo? Not only offensively, Jake, but defensively, he matched up against Tyrese Halliburton, and Halliburton did absolutely nothing, only scored 6 points. So what's your overall thoughts of Donte from an offensive standpoint, but also his ability to match up against Tyrese Halliburton on the defensive end?
Yeah, I'm glad you brought up the defense because I thought he was huge last night on Halliburton. And look, DiVincenzo at times could be streaky, but you love his confidence. I was at the post-game presser last night where he's like, every time I shoot, I think it's going in. And I mean, you just love the confidence. He plays that way. And he's hit so many big shots for this team this year. Obviously, game 2 against Philly speaks for itself, but I mean, he was huge in the game 6 closeout win. He was big last night, hit the big 3 to give him the lead for good last night. He's a tremendous player, but he's also like the perfect fit, right? Like, he was a nice player elsewhere. He was never this with the Knicks. And it just shows you it's like chemistry and cohesiveness, and like the fit really matters. And I think Leon Rose, the general manager, put this team together, president of basketball operations. he doesn't get enough credit. I mean, this team is so well put together. I mean, think about it. They've been able to withstand some major, major injuries that not a lot of teams would be able to deal with. And that's a testament to the depth of the roster. And also, Tom Thibodeau deserves enormous credit for the culture he's established, the buy-in he gets from his players. I mean, it really is a lovable Knicks team for the first time in like how long? It's crazy.
I'm so happy you gave Tibbs his credit because I keep giving Tibbs credit, and I got people in my chat saying, nah, Tibbs doesn't deserve any credit. It's the players. I'm like, what? It's the most bogus thing I've ever heard in my life. But yes, Leon Rose. And you know what's frustrating, Jake, about this series, in my opinion, is that the one thing the Pacers have on us is depth. And the only reason why is because we're hurt. We are deep, but we're hurt.
Yep.
We're without Bojan Bogdanovic. We're without Julius Randle. I mean, if we have Bogey, we'd be just as deep as them. If we had Randle, we'd be just as deep as them. So how do you think the Knicks are going to be able to sustain this? Because the Indiana Pacers are a very good basketball team. They were in control that entire game. Let's not pretend the Knicks blew them out. They did not. The Pacers were in control, but what makes this Knicks team so good is that they find ways to win in the clutch minutes, okay? So how do you think this Knicks team is going to be able to, sustain the pace of the Pacers and sustain their, ability to play fast? Because the depth of the Pacers is there. We have 3 bench points to their 40-plus bench points. Obi Toppin is playing good basketball for them. TJ McConnell, who has been a Knicks killer our entire lives, no matter what team he's on. So how do the Knicks be able to sustain a 7-game series against a Pacers team that is loaded off the bench? And unfortunately for the Knicks right now, the only reason why our depth isn't there is because we're hurt and we're only playing 8 men right now, as Precious suited up last night for the first time in the entire playoffs, playing at the 4 to stretch it to an 8-man rotation.
Yeah, look, it's going to be a challenge. I think Knicks fans were underrating, Indiana as a team. There could be a night or two where they just hit a bazillion threes, and like that could be the difference in the game. I mean, last night I didn't think the Knicks played at their best defensively. I would expect them to make some adjustments there and get a better defensive performance, but I think they need to get more from Mitchell Robinson. I think he could help. I think they need to get more from OG Anunoby. He played a lot better in the second half than he did in the first half. So, I think it kind of starts with those guys. You expect Brunson to be great every night. You know what Hart's going to give you. You hope Dante can have a great night shooting like he did last night more times than not this series. But, if the Knicks take care of the ball and if the Knicks could get back to kind of playing the defense we expect them to play, I think they're the better team and they'll find a way. But it's not going to be easy. Like you mentioned, Achua, he finally played. He played 4 minutes. They don't trust him. And unfortunately, the answer might be maybe you give Alec Burks a chance if you want some more scoring, but they don't trust him right now. Losing, losing Bodega Bogdanovic is a big blow for this team that's not being discussed enough.
Yeah, 100%. And someone in the chat says that Precious did play before, but the difference is the last time Precious played was when Mitch was out. Okay, and that's why Precious played. This is the first time we saw Precious get any minutes when both Mitchell Robinson and Hartenstein are healthy, and we saw Precious get minutes at the 4. That's new. That's why I brought that up. We did not see Precious get minutes at the 4 in round number 1. So I think that Thibodeau has to give Precious some minutes personally to just to like ease it out, because that's my one thing I'm nervous about. Is it sustainable? And another key guy in this series, Jake, that we have not really seen play well, honestly, since the beginning of the round 1 is Deuce McBride. He's always been a X factor for me, and we low-key need Deuce McBride to step up offensively because we need bench scoring, and Deuce coming in off the bench and getting hot is going to do wonders for this Knicks team. So I'm looking at Deuce to have a bounce back in game 2, because without Bojan Bogdanovic, bro, we don't have any offense off the bench. So unfortunately, it's all on Deuce and it's all on Jalen Brunson to keep leveling up his game. But that's kind of concerning that the Pacers have all these weapons in off the bench and we kind of don't. So what do you think of Deuce McBride so far this season, and how the Knicks have been able to adjust since the injury to Bojan Bogdanovic, and what this bench unit even looks like?
Yeah, look, I think when you look at Deuce, like he was amazing in game 1 of the Sixers series, like when Brunson had an off night, and Deuce had like 20 points almost off the bench, or maybe it was 20 points, but I was there. I mean, the crowd was going crazy. Every time he just touched the ball, people started yelling Deuce. So it was, he's become a fan favorite. His contract is unbelievable. The fact that the Knicks got him at the deal he's on right now. I mean, besides Brunson, Deuce McBride's one of the more bigger steals in the league. But you're right. They do need to get something from him. He's streaky. Hopefully game 2, he could be the bench scorer for this team, because without Bogey, they certainly could use someone else giving them some production there. McBride has the ability to do it. We've seen it. He's just very streaky right now. So hopefully he could be streaky in a good way in this one tomorrow night.
100%. Folks, don't forget to hit the like button. We're live here on Knicks Media with Jake Asman, who covers the New York Jets and New York sports. Make sure you guys check out Jake Asman's show. That link is down below in the description, and shoot him a follow on socials. And subscribe here to the Knicks Media. If you're new, man, we're excited. The Knicks are up 1-0. We are in the middle of the NBA playoffs. Things are high. The vibes are high right now, baby. Knicks Nation, let's freaking go. Now, Jake, I did want to get your thoughts of these odds presented by BetUS because the Knicks are at plus 285 to come out of the Eastern Conference. Now, of course, the Celtics are at minus 300 as the favorites. The Knicks are right there at plus 285. What are your thoughts of the Knicks at plus 285 to go to the NBA Finals? I know I'm going a little ahead of myself here, talking about that before we even get through the Pacers, but I'm curious of just your standpoints on these odds.
I mean, isn't it crazy that the Knicks have better odds to get to the finals than the Denver Nuggets do right now?
Oh, wow. The Nuggets at plus 700 being down 0-2,
Crazy.
losing both games at home. I didn't realize that. They got even better odds than the Mavericks and the Thunder.
Yeah, no, it's crazy. Look, I still think Boston's the best team. I'm not expecting the Knicks to beat the Celtics. I am expecting, especially with the Porzingis injury, the Knicks to really challenge them, though, like a long series, 6 or 7 games. But look, one injury here or there. Knicks steal a game they're not supposed to. Everything flips, man. It's the playoffs, and Boston, as good as they are, all the pressure's on them. And also, it's not like this is the Warriors or the Cavs with LeBron during those years where it's like assumed they get to the finals every year. Like, Boston lost to Miami last year. Boston, as currently constituted, they've never won a championship with this group. It's not like they have that pedigree to fall back on. So I still think they're the best team. I still would pick them over the Knicks. But, if you believe in this Knicks team, plus 285, why not? Have some fun.
And last thing here on this site, what's your prediction? How many games is the series going? You can predict it right here. For example, Knicks to sweep is at plus 425. Knicks in 5 is at plus 300. Knicks in 6, plus 450. Knicks in 7 at plus 350. And then if you have the Pacers to win the series, here are the odds. So if you had to put your money on how many games this series is going, what would you choose?
I said Knicks in 6 before the series began, and nothing I saw last night would have me change my mind. So I'm saying Knicks in 6.
Knicks in 6 is at plus 450 on BetUS. If you guys want to sign up for BetUS, click that link down below in the description to receive your 125% bonus on your first 3 deposits up to $2,500. Big time shout out to BetUS Sportsbook for being the sportsbook sponsor of Knicks Media.
BetUS, live betting and racebook. We're celebrating 30 years with a historic offer, a 125% sign-up bonus on your first 3 deposits, plus 10% gambler's insurance. Get started today. BetUS, where the game begins.
Now, Jake, I want to pivot into game 2, and I want to get your thoughts of what adjustments you would like to see from these Knicks, because last night wasn't pretty. It wasn't perfect. You play to win the game, right? So even though they played sloppy, doesn't matter. They won the basketball game. But what do you want to see from an adjustment standpoint from the coaching staff and the personnel to kind of, not be down 9 points early in the fourth quarter and not be trailing or maybe protect the lead? Like, what did you see last night that you want to see some adjustments from this Knicks team matching up against the Pacers?
Yeah, it's a great question. I mean, look, I think they got to get more from their center play. I think that's big. I think they got to close out better. Felt like Indiana had too many open looks. So I think it starts defensively, Richie. When Thibodeau breaks down this film with the guys today, I'm sure he's not going to be pleased with a lot of what he saw there. So that to me is kind of where it starts. And we kind of hit on it before. I think they got to find a way to get someone besides Brunson, DiVincenzo, and Hart going offensively. If that's Deuce, if that's, maybe more from Hartenstein somehow, maybe. Just maybe they could get, that OG game where he maybe takes over with some scoring. That'd be fun. So, but I think it starts with the defense because the Knicks traditionally don't give up nearly as many points as they did last night. That's not the pace the Knicks want to play at. They found a way to get it done, which is great. Certainly benefited from a couple calls, which you never apologize for if you're a Knicks fan. And at the end of the day, I think it starts with defense, though.
Yeah, I agree. I think the Knicks got to stay true to their identity. And I think that, the one thing I noticed that everyone was, hyping up in this series, that what the Pacers do so well is they play fast. And I noticed that the Knicks, they match that. I mean, how many times did Josh Hart get a rebound and score within the first 5 seconds of the shot clock? Right. I think maintaining that pace is good, but also I'd love to see the Knicks try to slow down the Pacers and maybe force the Pacers to play at their own pace, because the Knicks are the slowest pacing basketball team in the league, and the Pacers are they play it fast, right? So I think staying true to their identity and also making sure they dominate what they're best at, which is offensive rebounds. And the Pacers beat us at our own game in the first half, but then we kind of came back to our roots in the second half. So I think getting those back-breaking rebounds and crashing the boards and allowing Josh Hart to getting those rebounds that breaks teams, like he said in round 1 last year in the playoffs when he told Mitchell Robinson, you get rebounds, I get rebounds that break teams. Like, that's what Josh Hart's motto is. So I have to agree. You got to stay true to their identity and making sure that we zip it up on the defensive end. When it comes to, shutting down Tyrese Halliburton, I mean, we did that. But there's a lot of players in the Pacers that opened up that team. I mean, like TJ McConnell. Like, he's the guy, Jake. I don't know if you remember, every time the Knicks face up against this guy, he becomes the greatest player to ever walk the face of the earth. Like, why is this guy so good against the Knicks? Why? Every single time.
It's true.
It's every time.
It's true. Yeah. He's killed them, man. I mean, look, he's a scrappy player, good shooter. They got to be aware of him. I think they are. It's just, he's a good player. Got to tip your cap.
Yeah, and Obi Toppin going East Bay on us. I mean, I think he's going to regret that. I mean, come on. You go in between the legs. Last time he did that against the Knicks, he missed it. So that was a little risky. What are your thoughts of Obi going in between the legs at the Garden?
Yeah, he's antagonizing the crowd a little bit. The hometown kid coming back. Mark Jackson from Queens, St. John's, when he played for the Pacers and was a part of that rivalry too. So former Knicks, so some similarities there, I guess you could say.
What was the crowd like? Because you were at the Garden last night when Obi had that dunk. Like, was it like I'm curious. What was it like?
A lot of like, like oohs and ahs, like,
yeah.
oh crap.
Wow,
like,
Obi just really did that.
Like, Obi's here. Like,
and also the Pacers went up. They went up like 7 or 8 points after that dunk, and you kind of felt the momentum. But then right after that dunk, Dante hit a big shot immediately.
Big three,
and that kind of just like took that Obi dunk out. It canceled it out. Like, if Dante missed that next shot and then the Pacers went down and hit a 3, I don't know how the Knicks would have came back. But the fact that Dante answered that in between the leg dunk by Obi with the 3, it kind of canceled it all out. Now, before I let you go, Jake, your overall thoughts of what it's like to be at Madison Square Garden. Because, listen, I went to Game 3 last year of the Knicks-Cavaliers game in round number 1, and the Knicks won that game, and it was such an amazing atmosphere. You've been at every home playoff game. I'll be there tomorrow, and I'm so excited to be there. I kind of know what the vibes are like, but why don't you just describe what it's like to be at Madison Square Garden, how special it is to watch a Knicks basketball team in the playoffs win?
Wild, man. Garden is truly one of a kind, man. There's no building like it. And, I think New York, especially the Garden, does that like silence to roar better than like any sports town. And like you heard it several times last night. So it's going to be exciting, man. I'm glad you're going to be there. And, I hope the Knicks can get a win with you and your dad in the building, because the last time you and I were at the same sporting event, we were out in together, and that did not go well for our Jets. Hopefully it's better tomorrow night.
And before that, we were both at week 1 of the Jets-Bills game. So we got to turn the page on us being together in the sports arena and try to like turn the page on a positive momentum, because we need some W's. Jake, thank you so much for hopping on Knicks Media, man. Always a pleasure to have you on, guys. Definitely go check out Jake's show. If you're a big Jets fan like myself, definitely go check out Jake's show. His channel is linked down below in the description. Jake, anything you'd like to say to the people before we wrap things up?
Let's go Knicks.
Go New York, go New York, go. Knicks fans, expect a preview show tomorrow here on Knicks Media. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe to Knicks Media. I appreciate you guys tuning in. My name is Richie. He's Jake. We're out of here. Let's go Knicks. Knicks in 6. Catch you guys later. Peace out.